The door slammed shut behind me, and I heard my sister's voice, cold and venomous, cutting through the quiet like a blade. "You really thought this wedding was going to be about you? Think again." I froze. That one sentence shattered everything I'd believed about family, trust, and the happiest day of my life. The room around me blurred, the soft white decorations and blooming flowers suddenly feeling suffocating, like they were closing in, mocking me. "My name is Emily Harper. I'm 32, a corporate attorney with a reputation for calm under fire and a sharp mind to match." I was supposed to be the bride glowing with joy, surrounded by loved ones, but instead I was facing the nightmare my own sister had masterminded. My sister, Lucy, was supposed to be my biggest supporter. Instead, she was the architect of my undoing. Earlier that morning, I was in my apartment, rehearsing my vows and sipping coffee with my best friend, Lisa. She's a designer, always the calm in my storm, and she was helping me keep my nerves in check. It's your day. Everything's perfect," Lisa said, adjusting a stray curl. Her voice was soft but certain. I smiled, trying to believe her. "It has to be, after all the planning, after everything." But then my phone buzzed, a message from an unknown number. It read, "Look outside, your sister isn't who you think she is." I laughed it off nervously. "Probably some prank," I said. But Lisa's eyes narrowed. Don't ignore this." Curious and anxious, I peeked through the window. Outside, my sister was glaring at me, her lips curling into a smile that didn't reach her eyes. I knew then something was wrong. Lucy had always been competitive, sure, but this was something else. The day of the wedding rolled on, but the atmosphere had shifted. At the ceremony, Lucy was distant, her eyes flickering with something I couldn't place: anger, resentment. It didn't make sense. Later, as we posed for photos, she pulled me aside. "You think you're the only one who's ever had to fight for attention," she hissed. "This day was never yours to have." Before I could respond, she stormed off, leaving a trail of whispered rumors behind her that spread through the guests like wildfire. My own mother, trying to keep the peace, shot me a warning glance. "Lucy's been under a lot of pressure, Emily. Don't make this worse." But I knew it was already worse. Lucy had poisoned the day, and no one seemed willing to stop her. I wanted to scream, to confront her, but something inside me held back. Who was she really? And why was she so intent on destroying me? That night, as I sat alone in the empty banquet hall, the weight of betrayal crushed me. But beneath that pain, a flicker of resolve ignited. If Lucy had been hiding behind a mask all these years, it was time I found out what lay beneath and took back what was mine. How could the person I trusted most become my greatest enemy? And more importantly, what was I going to do about it? The question hung in the air, heavier than any bouquet or veil. My wedding was ruined, but my story was far from over. Lucy's betrayal wasn't just a moment, it was a slow-burning fire that scorched everything in its path, and I was right in the middle of it. The next days revealed her true colors in ways I never imagined. I met with Lisa at our favorite cafe, the place that had seen us through everything from bad breakups to work crises. I needed her clarity more than ever. "She didn't just sabotage the wedding," I said quietly, stirring my coffee. "She spread rumors lying about me, about James. She told people I only married him for his money." Lisa's eyes widened. "That's brutal, Em. Where is this coming from?" I shook my head. "I don't know, but it's not just talk. Yesterday I found out she convinced my mother to cancel the reception caterer last minute. The caterer swore they never got the final confirmation, even though I personally handled it." Lisa blinked, processing. "Your own mother. It's like Lucy's pulling strings everywhere." Even Aunt June called, sounding hesitant, saying maybe I should reconsider everything, like I'm the one who caused this mess. I clenched my fists. Aunt June, usually my biggest ally in the family, was suddenly distant. I felt like I was drowning in a sea of lies, orchestrated by the one person I thought I could count on. That evening I confronted my mother. "Mom, why didn't you stop her? Why let Lucy do this?" I asked, voice trembling with frustration. She looked away, biting her lip. "Emily, you don't understand. Lucy's been under so much pressure lately. She's scared she's losing her place in the family." I didn't want to choose sides. "Choose sides? It's my wedding, my life," I snapped. She sighed, exhaustion washing over her face. "I'm sorry, Emily, but Lucy, she's different now, and she's dangerous." Dangerous? That word echoed through my mind all night. Lucy had become someone I didn't recognize. The sister I grew up with, the one who shared secrets and dreams, was gone. I needed to understand how far she'd go. The next morning, I met my fiancé, James, at our apartment. James was a software developer, quiet, steady, my rock. but even he was shaken by Lucy's actions. "She's trying to break us apart," James said, running a hand through his hair. "Last night she sent me texts accusing you of hiding things from her family." I nodded. "I'm starting to see the pattern. She's isolating me, cutting off my support." James frowned. "What does she want, Em? Why destroy the wedding?" "I think it's more than jealousy," I said. "It's about control. She's been living in my shadow for years, and now that I'm finally happy, she can't stand it." James reached across the table, squeezing my hand. "We'll get through this together." But the doubt lingered, gnawing at me. If Lucy was capable of this much manipulation, what was she hiding behind that mask? A few days later, I invited Lucy to meet at the park, the one place we used to escape to as kids. I wanted answers, or at least to confront her face to face. She arrived late, dressed impeccably as always, with that cold smile plastered on. "Emily," she said smoothly, still playing the victim. "I need to know why, Lucy. Why sabotage me? Why ruin everything?" My voice was steady, but inside my heart was pounding. She laughed, a sharp sound that didn't reach her eyes. "You think this is sabotage? No, little sister, this is survival. You took everything from me." "Everything?" I repeated, disbelief rising. "I worked for everything I have. What do you think I took?" Lucy's gaze darkened. "Dad's approval, Mom's attention, the spotlight you always steal. I've been invisible because of you." I took a deep breath. "You're not invisible to me, Lucy, but this is cruel and it's breaking us." She leaned in, voice low and threatening. "You'll see soon enough, I'm not the sister you remember. I'm the storm you never saw coming." I walked away, heart heavy but burning with determination. This was no longer just about a wedding. It was a battle for truth, for justice, for reclaiming my life. And I wasn't going down without a fight. How do you fight someone who knows every weakness, every secret? And what happens when the person you love most turns out to be your fiercest enemy? The park meeting with Lucy had left a strange chill that settled into my bones, a mix of anger and an eerie sense of anticipation. Her words, "the storm you never saw," in my mind, twisting into a challenge I wasn't ready to accept but couldn't ignore. I returned home to find Lisa waiting for me. She'd become my lifeline over the past week, a constant reminder I wasn't alone in this mess. "Did you get anything from her?" Lisa asked, her brows knitted with concern as I sank onto the couch. I shook my head, feeling the weight of the unspoken truth. "No, just threats and bitterness. But I'm starting to realize Lucy's been planning this for years." Lisa's eyes widened. "What do you mean?" I pulled out my laptop, opening folders I'd barely glanced at until now. "Remember when I told you about those weird incidents during wedding planning? Cancellations, lost deposits, vendors changing their minds at the last minute." Lisa nodded slowly. "They weren't accidents. Lucy has been manipulating everything behind the scenes. Emails deleted, calls intercepted. She's got access I never suspected." "Wow, how did she get all that?" Lisa asked, disbelief tinting her voice. I tapped on a folder labeled Lucy. It was my secret stash of evidence, texts, emails, even recorded conversations I'd gathered quietly over the last few months, suspecting something was off but never knowing how deep it went. If that revenge hit just right, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more epic comebacks and justice-served stories. Drop a comment below. I'd love to know what you would have done in their place. "She's been spying on me. I found this last week," I said, playing a voice memo where Lucy's voice was unmistakable, murmuring to someone about sabotaging the wedding plans. "She's been hiding this for years." Lisa leaned forward, eyes sharp. "Em, this is serious. What are you going to do?" I closed the laptop with a decisive snap. I'm not going to let her win, but I can't just confront her blindly. I need to be smarter. That's when my phone buzzed. It was my assistant, Mia, sharp, no-nonsense, and fiercely loyal. "Emily, there's someone here to see you. She says it's urgent." I frowned. "Who?" "She won't say, just keeps asking for you." I sighed, running my hands through my hair. "Send her in." The door opened and in walked Anna, a woman from my firm's HR department. She looked nervous but determined. "Emily, I overheard something at the office. Lucy's been contacting some of our vendors pretending to be you, trying to cancel contracts, spread false stories." My heart sank. This wasn't just personal. It was creeping into my professional life. Anna continued, "I thought you should know. If she's this bold, she might try to sabotage your career next." That night I lay awake, thoughts racing. Lucy wasn't just a jealous sister. She was a calculated adversary. The kind of enemy who could dismantle your world piece by piece while wearing a mask of innocence. The next morning, I met with my closest colleague, David, a tech-savvy investigator I trusted. He had helped me before with tricky cases and was already intrigued by what I shared about Lucy. "Let me look into her digital footprints," David offered, setting up his laptop at our favorite downtown coffee shop. People like her always leave traces. While David worked, I reflected on my past with Lucy. We weren't always enemies. Growing up, she was the fiery one, always pushing boundaries while I was the steady achiever. Maybe her bitterness came from years of feeling overshadowed. But that didn't excuse her cruelty. As David dug deeper, he uncovered a pattern of manipulation: fake emails, forged documents, even social media accounts Lucy had created to spread lies about me. I sat back, stunned. She's been orchestrating this for so long. No wonder no one believed me when I first raised concerns. David looked up, his eyes sharp. "This is solid. Enough to confront her, legally if needed." I nodded, a new resolve forming. "I'm done hiding, it's time to expose her." Later that evening, I sat with Lisa and James, the two people who had stood by me through every twist and turn. "I'm planning to confront Lucy again," I said, "but this time with everything laid bare." Lisa gave me a supportive smile. "You're stronger than you think, Em, just don't lose yourself in this." James squeezed my hand. "We're with you. Whatever it takes." Days passed and the tension built. Lucy sensed I was onto her, her messages becoming more aggressive, veiled threats disguised as sisterly concern. One night I received a text from her. "You think you can destroy me. Think again, the mask is mine to wear." The message sent a shiver down my spine. What mask was she talking about? The question lingered. What was Lucy hiding beneath her carefully crafted facade? And how far was I willing to go to tear it down? I found myself standing on a precipice, ready to step into the storm Lucy had warned me about. But this time, I wouldn't be the victim, I'd be the one holding the lightning. The moment I decided to step into Lucy's storm, everything shifted. The days that followed were a blur of quiet, calculated moves, my mind sharp, every action deliberate. If Lucy wanted a battle of masks and secrets, I was ready to play the game on my terms. It started with the files David uncovered. The fake emails, the forged contracts, the social media smear campaigns, each piece of evidence was like a chess move, and I began to see the whole board. I called a meeting with Lisa, James, and David at my apartment, the space that had become my command center. "Here's the plan," I said, spreading out printouts and digital files across the coffee table. "We're going to expose Lucy, but smartly. No public drama yet. We gather every shred of proof, then confront her where it hurts most." Lisa leaned in, eyes scanning the documents. "She's been playing everyone. But how do we stop her before she does more damage?" I tapped a folder labeled vendors. David's traced her calls to the caterer, florist, even the photographer. "We'll send formal letters to these vendors with proof of her interference. Make it official." James nodded. "And what about the family? She's got them wrapped around her finger." I smiled a little wryly. "That's where psychology comes in. We don't confront them directly. We plant doubt, subtle, strategic. If they start questioning Lucy, her power crumbles." David, always the pragmatist, added, "I'll prepare a timeline showing her sabotage activities. When we're ready, we present this to the lawyer. If Lucy pushes back, we're legally prepared." Days turned into nights filled with emails, phone calls, and hushed conversations. Each step forward felt like peeling back layers of a very tangled web. One afternoon, as I was reviewing vendor responses, my phone rang. It was Aunt June. "Emily," her voice was hesitant. "I don't know what's going on with Lucy, but I'm beginning to see things differently." "That's good, Aunt June. It means a lot," I replied carefully. She sighed. "I never wanted to believe she could do this. But maybe it's time to face the truth." It felt like the first crack in Lucy's armor, but Lucy wasn't idle. That evening, I got a call from the florist, her voice trembling. "Emily, Lucy tried to get me to cancel the delivery again. She said if I didn't, she'd make sure I never worked in this city again." I closed my eyes, steadying my breath. "Thank you for telling me. We'll take care of this." Later that night, I texted Lucy directly. "Stop interfering, this ends now." Minutes later, a reply came back, mocking and cold. "Oh, Emily, always so righteous, you think you can outsmart me. You're just a pawn." I smiled to myself. "We'll see." The next morning, Lisa burst into my office at the firm, eyes wide with excitement. "You won't believe this," she said, holding her phone. "The caterer just called. They're ready to come forward, saying Lucy forged emails to cancel contracts." I felt a thrill of vindication. Perfect, let's compile everything. We worked through the day, preparing a dossier thick with evidence. David had even uncovered a voicemail Lucy left on the photographer's phone, threatening to ruin his business if he didn't cancel. That night, James and I sat on the balcony, the city lights flickering below. "I'm proud of you, Em," James said quietly. "You're not just fighting back, you're winning." I looked at him grateful. It's not over yet, but this feels like the first real strike. And then came the light-hearted moment I hadn't expected. During a phone call, Lucy's voice cracked, not with strength but with frustration. "You think you're clever? Everyone will believe me before you, Emily, you'll see." I couldn't help but chuckle. "Oh, Lucy. It's cute how desperate you sound." Lisa, overhearing, whispered, "She's unraveling." That night, Lucy's social media accounts began to receive anonymous tips exposing her lies. Vendors spoke up publicly, and whispers of her manipulations spread through the family. The final blow came when Aunt June confronted Lucy, holding up printed emails. "How could you?" Aunt June's voice trembled with disbelief. Lucy's mask cracked, her composure faltering for the first time in years. I watched it all unfold quietly, a calm smile on my lips. The storm was raging around her, and I was standing in the eye, unshaken. But just as I felt satisfaction, a text from Lucy appeared. "Enjoy your victory while it lasts. The real game is just beginning." And with that, the tension surged anew. How far would she go when cornered? What secret had she been hiding all along? The mask she'd worn so long was slipping, but what lay beneath was still a mystery I was desperate to uncover. The text from Lucy, "The real game is just beginning," hung over me like a shadow as I prepared for the next phase. If Lucy was going to escalate, I needed to be ready. This wasn't just a family feud anymore. It was about justice, about protecting everything I had built and proving once and for all who I really was. I sat down with my lawyer, Monica, a sharp and relentless woman known for taking on impossible cases and winning. Her office was sleek but warm, filled with books and framed degrees, a place where strategy was forged. "Emily, from what you've shown me, this is not just defamation, it's deliberate sabotage," Monica said, flipping through the thick dossier we'd prepared. "We have emails, voicemails, witness statements. It's airtight." I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. "So, we move forward." Monica nodded. "We'll file a civil suit for damages and defamation. Plus, there's potential criminal liability here for forgery and harassment. This could end badly for Lucy." I met with Lisa and James afterward. "This is it," I said, determination tightening my voice. "We're taking the fight to the courtroom." James squeezed my hand. "You've got this. We'll be with you every step." Lisa's eyes were fierce. "She underestimated you, big mistake." But Lucy's response came quickly and aggressively. The day the lawsuit was filed, I received a package at the office. Inside was a thick folder of documents, mostly fake financial statements, and supposed evidence, claiming I was the one who had been sabotaging family relationships and business deals. It was a desperate counterattack, but Monica assured me the forgeries were obvious. When the news broke that I was suing my sister, the office buzzed. Some colleagues whispered, others stared. But David came by with a grin. "You're turning heads. Everyone's talking about the case, and mostly how you're not backing down." The courtroom battle began weeks later. It was a spectacle, with family members, vendors, and friends called as witnesses. Lucy arrived sharply dressed, her usual cold smile in place, but I noticed the tension beneath it. During one hearing, Monica stood and addressed the judge, her voice clear and unwavering. "Your Honor, we have undeniable proof that Miss Lucy Harper engaged in a calculated campaign of sabotage against my client, Miss Emily Harper. This includes falsification of documents, coercion of vendors, and emotional manipulation within the family. The impact on Miss Harper's personal and professional life has been severe and deliberate." Lucy's lawyer attempted to deflect, painting her as a victim of jealousy and misunderstanding. But as witnesses recounted their experiences, the truth became impossible to deny. The turning point came when Aunt June took the stand. Her voice, usually gentle, was firm. "I believed Lucy for a long time, but after seeing the evidence, I realized she was hiding behind lies. I want the truth to come out for Emily's sake and for all of us." There was a ripple in the courtroom. Lucy's face paled, and for a moment the mask slipped. She avoided eye contact with the judge and the jury. After the session, I caught a glimpse of Lucy outside, surrounded by reporters. Her usual arrogance was replaced by something raw: frustration, fear, maybe even regret. But then, a cold glare as she caught sight of me. Monica leaned in, whispering, "She's cornered Emily. This is where the real fight ends." But Lucy wasn't done. She launched a media campaign accusing me of family betrayal, trying to spin the story into a victim narrative. Yet with every article and interview, my evidence held stronger. One evening, Lisa and I watched a televised debate where a respected legal analyst broke down the case. Harper's case is a textbook example of intellectual and emotional sabotage, the analyst said. The evidence is compelling, and the repercussions for Lucy could be significant. I felt a mixture of relief and exhaustion. The legal battle was draining, but I knew it was necessary. Then came the unexpected. My firm's CEO called me into his office. "Emily, your courage and integrity have been noticed," he said, offering a rare, genuine smile. "Despite the chaos, your work here remains exemplary. If you're interested, we want to put you forward for partnership." I blinked, stunned. "Thank you, He cut in, "You've proven strength beyond the courtroom. We need that kind of leadership." As I left the office, the weight of everything I'd endured lifted slightly. The fight was far from over, but the tide was turning. Back home, I found a message from James. "Proud of you. Whatever happens, you're not alone." I smiled, typing back, "This is just the beginning." But Lucy's next move was closer than I thought. Late one night, my doorbell rang. Standing there was a courier with a small package and an ominous note. "Masks fall off, watch carefully." Inside the package was a cracked mirror, a chilling reminder that beneath the facades we wear, the truth always finds a way to reflect itself. What new secrets was Lucy trying to unveil? And how far was she willing to go to drag me down with her? The courtroom was only the beginning. The real reckoning was just unfolding, and I had to be ready. The days following the courthouse showdown felt like living through a slow-motion collapse, one that belonged to Lucy, but whose echoes rippled all around us. Watching her unravel was a mixture of satisfaction and a strange, bitter sadness. The sister I once loved was disappearing piece by piece, her empire of lies crumbling under the weight of truth. The first sign of her material downfall came subtly. Vendors who once feared her influence began openly severing ties. The florist who had caved to her threats posted a heartfelt message online, exposing the harassment. The caterer revoked any contracts Lucy had tried to forge, making it clear she was no longer welcome in their circle. Then, the news hit hard. Lucy was fired from her job at the family business. The board, swayed by mounting evidence and media attention, didn't want to be tied to her scandals. I heard whispers of bankruptcy filings and asset seizures. It was a sharp, public fall from grace. One evening, Lisa called, her voice heavy. Have you seen the headlines? Lucy's losing everything. Her house is going on auction." I sat in stunned silence. The woman who'd threatened to destroy me was now losing the life she once flaunted. But the collapse wasn't just financial. The family, fractured and disillusioned, began to turn away from Lucy. Aunt June, once her staunchest supporter, now barely returned her calls. Even my mother, who'd walked a tightrope between us, started setting boundaries. At a small family dinner, the tension was palpable. Lucy sat at the head of the table, but the usual spark in her eyes was gone. "Lucy, maybe it's time to take responsibility," Aunt June said gently but firmly. "We can't keep pretending this didn't happen." Lucy's response was a hollow laugh. "Responsibility, you don't know the half of it." That night, I caught James's eye across the room. His look said everything: sympathy for what Lucy had become, relief that I was safe. But the deepest collapse was internal. The confident woman who had once masked everything behind arrogance and manipulation now seemed isolated, haunted. Rumors spread of long nights alone, regret whispered through half-closed doors, and desperate calls to people who no longer answered. I wasn't naive enough to think Lucy's downfall was complete or without scars. But it was clear the mask she wore for years had shattered. One afternoon, as I was walking through the park, the same one where we last met, I saw Lucy sitting alone on a bench, staring at the ground. The years had added shadows to her face, and the fire in her eyes was dimmed. She looked up, catching my gaze. For a moment there was no anger, no threat, just a fragile glimpse of the sister I remembered. "Emily," she said quietly, "I lost myself trying to keep up with you. I took a breath, maybe, but you lost more by hiding behind that mask." She nodded slowly, tears welling up. "I don't know how to fix this." I sat beside her, the old pain mingling with a new hope. It starts with truth, and maybe one day forgiveness. The road ahead for both of us was uncertain. But in that moment, I saw that beneath all the destruction, there was still a chance for something real. As I walked away, I felt lighter, stronger. The battle was over, but the healing had just begun. And as the sun set behind the trees, I realized that sometimes the hardest victories are the ones where you learn to let go and find yourself again. Months passed since that quiet moment in the park, and life had begun to settle into a new rhythm, one I hadn't imagined possible after the chaos that had consumed my world. The courtroom battles, the betrayals, the shattering of family ties, they all felt like distant echoes now, reminders of a storm weathered and survived. At work, things had changed profoundly. After the case, the firm recognized not just my legal skills but my resilience and integrity. The partnership offer I'd received earlier became official, and with it came new responsibilities and a platform. One afternoon, in the gleaming conference room of our downtown office, I stood before a group of young associates, sharing my journey, not just as a lawyer but as someone who had faced profound personal challenges. "I want you all to know," I said, my voice steady, "that strength isn't just about winning cases. It's about standing up when everything seems against you, about reclaiming your story. No matter what masks people wear around us, truth and courage always find their way." The room was silent, then filled with nods and quiet applause. It was a moment that felt bigger than me, a chance to inspire others to fight with their minds and hearts. Outside of work, I made a conscious choice to rebuild and redefine family. It wasn't about forgetting the past or pretending wounds didn't exist. It was about creating space for healing, for honesty, and for the possibility that even fractured bonds might one day mend. My mother and I grew closer, our conversations deeper and more open than before. Aunt June surprised me with regular visits, her warmth a balm to old scars. And as for Lucy, well, we weren't close, not yet. But there was a fragile thread of communication that hadn't existed before, a quiet acknowledgement that the past didn't have to dictate the future. One evening, James and I walked along the riverbank, the city lights shimmering on the water's surface. "Are you happy?" he asked gently. I smiled, looking out at the horizon. "I am, stronger than I ever thought I could be and more hopeful." He took my hand, his grip firm and reassuring. Back home, I kept a small, cracked mirror on my dresser, the same one Lucy had sent in that ominous package. But now, instead of a symbol of threat, it was a reminder. A reminder that beneath every mask is a truth waiting to be faced. On the mirror, I'd placed a tiny sticker with a quote I found meaningful. "Courage doesn't always roar. Sometimes it's the quiet voice at the end of the day saying, 'I will try again tomorrow.'" That quiet voice became my anthem, the steady pulse beneath the noise of the past. As I prepared for bed one night, my phone buzzed with a message from Lisa. "Dinner soon, I've got some exciting news." I smiled, typing back, "Can't wait." It wasn't just about victories or losses anymore. It was about moving forward, embracing the scars, the lessons, and the strength that had grown from them. Because sometimes the greatest triumph isn't in defeating others, but in reclaiming yourself. And as I turned off the lights, I knew this was only the beginning of a new chapter, one written with honesty, courage, and a heart unmasked.